Well, everything around branding pertains to podcasting. Podcasting is one of the most amazing ways to apply your brand. But I think one of the things that I always like to address on podcast calls is branding is confusing. People have the concept of what branding is, but not truly understanding. They think logos, websites come to mind, fonts, colors, like, oh, branding. How is that supposed to help me build my reputation, experience distinction? And that's why my podcast is called Brand Anatomy. It's actually 5 parts of branding. And most people are missing 4 or 3.5 of them.
You could miss 3.5?
Oh, hell yeah.
How do you miss 3.5?
So it's kind of like you have this Grand Canyon. You're starting a business, you do your business plan, then you go to market. So you're jumping from one side of the canyon to the other, but there's a huge gap in the middle. And it is, what is it are you marketing? Well, if you're just marketing your services, oh, I have amazing investments. You invest with me, you make money back. It's real estate. It's called multifamily syndication. And then you're missing the meat. You're trying to jump the Grand Canyon. So your marketing takes more time and energy and it fails and people don't get tractions even years later. So then they're figuring out, oh, I need to figure out my avatar. I need to write these one-liners. How do I do that? And it's the first 3 pieces of branding. Earlier, I mentioned we build our brands the way we experience them.
All right. But going back to missing 3.5, I don't understand how you can miss a half a thing.
So that's the messaging, actually. There are so many different pieces of brand messaging and copywriting, and people will kind of get some of them. So let's think when we start a business, we're like, oh, I'm going to come up with a great name for it. The name is actually in phase 3. So before coming up with the name for your business, and I don't think you did this, Adam, but some people tend to do this. Oh, I'll pick my favorite football team, the road that my father grew up on, just something, especially in real estate syndication. There's so many different, what do you name it? And
there's
I help people with that.
Just initial themselves.
Yes.
I'm going to try not to use an actual initial that I've heard, but there's a lot that are like, I'm going to be BKL investing. And yeah, I always think like, what does BKL mean? Why does it matter to your investor?
Exactly.
Yeah.
So when people come to work with you, Adam, you walk them through these parts of branding and they haven't done it or they haven't done it to the full extent. That's the exact example of halfway done, half baked. So we build a brand backwards because that's how we experience it. First, we see all the pretty stuff, the logo, we read the cool stuff. And then, oh, now I kind of understand like what they believe in and I'll see these different pieces. But okay, the way that I walk my clients through building a brand anatomy is we do the internal strategy first. You've talked about vision here. We're talking mission, purpose, values, like all of those. You're asking your podcasters before you work with them, hey, what is your mission? What is this for the podcast? Because you're doing the brand anatomy the correct way, not what do you want to call it? All right, cool. What do you want the cover? All right, let's wing it is how we usually do it. So then we go into the next phase, which is the positioning strategy. Again, we've already talked about this. How is this different from the marketplace? In the middle is that character development. This is how we personify our brand so that it builds a reputation. I can recognize them. I can personally connect to you, Adam. But a brand itself can have its own identity as well. So we're going to build a character and personify and humanize that with an archetype. Is this kind of like an outlaw? All brands that we know, like and trust and love do this. Apple, Nike, they all have a different type. Harley Davidson. Here's an example. Let's use motorcycles. I know the difference between Harley, Ducati, and KTM. I see 3 different people when I hear those motorcycle brand names. Same with cars like Jeep, Mercedes, and Honda. There's a mom in there. There's a young dude who's breaking his arm or crushing it in there, like Adam. And what was the other? Mercedes. There's maybe a CEO in a business. These are identities, human characteristics, and personas. And when we try to create messaging and create visuals and create content without these 3 pieces, we're just flying by the seat of our pants, nothing sticking to the wall. And that's where we can also get really confused on how do I authentically show up as well within this.